Hey, Nicki Sanders here with Nicki Sanders Leadership Consulting. Thanks for joining me here on the More Than Social Work with Nicki Sanders YouTube channel. So, I talk a lot about leadership development, soft leadership, soft success, living a soft life. Rest is productive. Set healthy boundaries. Self-care is a priority. Self-preservation is essential. Protect your peace. With all of those things, you may be wondering, is soft leadership safe for Black women specifically and women of color to practice? The answer is subjective. That depends. That depends on each individual person and each individual situation. So, for me personally, I am never going to tell anyone, coaching clients, students, interns, staff, my daughter, my colleagues, to do anything that I'm unwilling to do. So for me personally, the answer is yes. Soft leadership is essential, and it is something that I honestly have always practiced, but I've said before that I built a lot of my success on self-sacrifice. And some of that was not really self-imposed, but self-imposed. And some of it was things that I had accepted from society, from my birthplace in the family, from the things that I saw around me. But I always set boundaries in the workplace. And part of the problem was I was the one who was ignoring the boundaries that I had set. So the answer for me is a resounding yes. I am always going to set boundaries, lead with people first. I'm going to advocate for myself. I'm going to take my vacation and my mental health days. I am going to spread out my work. And there are times that I have to do more work, like the work is more intense or the work is more plentiful. But there are also times that the work slows down. So we look for balance. But the toxic workplaces are a no-no. And that does not mean that I have not been in them, because I have definitely been in more than one toxic workplace. So let's start with one of the first ones. As a recent undergrad student, or a graduate, right? I had graduated, and this was my second full-time job out of undergrad. I had an executive director, and I've worked in, mostly in the nonprofit field since graduating. Prior to that, I did work in government, but I worked in a nonprofit field. And my executive director, I was usually quiet in staff meetings because I'm observant, I'm thinking, I'm listening, I'm like, and I spoke out in one of the staff meetings, and it was fine on my end. And I was about 26 maybe at the time. So when it came for my annual review, my supervisor did my annual review, turned out well, because again, I told y'all, I get my work done. And I do it systemically so I can get more work done, because that's just kind of the way my mind works and thinks, and kind of big picture. So I had my evaluation, everything was good, and then it went to my executive director. And my executive director decided to add some additional things, which meant she had been holding in things from when I spoke up in that staff meeting. And the things that she wrote were not true. And so I called her. Yes, I picked up the phone and I called her on it. And it was a Friday, and what she said to me was, "Oh, put it in writing, ma'am. The last thing you want me to do is put it in writing," right? So I put it in writing. We had a whole conversation about it. But the truth is, by that point, I had already decided to leave. So I was actually only in that position about 4 months, right? So I had already decided that it was toxic and that was not the place for me. But even in that, I still spoke up, even at that age and early in my career. Now, fast forward to being seasoned in my career, I've had 2 positions eliminated, right? So they couldn't fire me because I was doing my job. I was doing my job well. I was getting things done. The organizational culture has shifted. I was holding things together. It was doing what it needed to do. But because I had horrible leaders who were bad leaders, who had security issues, insecurity issues, who were very fragile emotionally, and also who were used to toxic communication, A black woman and a white woman, so we're not even going to talk about race at this point. And my job was eliminated. Now, again, in those positions, I had already decided to leave. So them eliminating my positions meant I didn't have to walk out on my own and find another job. It meant that I was able to get severance and I was able to get unemployment, right? So thank you, right? So it wasn't something where I was going to sue. Was I angry? Yeah. But was I going to sue? No, not because I was afraid to, but because I had already knew that that wasn't the right place for me, and I was already on my way out on my own terms. And them speeding up the process actually helped me, right? If I'm being truthful. So it took me a while to recover from them, yes, right? So I'm not going to pretend like it did not disrupt my life at that point, but it was better for me in the long run, and I knew that. So here are 3 things that I want you to remember before we talk about whether practicing soft leadership is appropriate for you, because there is no one size fits all. So I can't say no black women should practice soft leadership or it's unsafe for all black women. What I'm going to say is, as a woman of color in leadership, you have to do what is best for you. So here are 3 things that I want you to remember. 1, human resources, HR is not your friend. Doesn't matter how nice they are not your friend. 2, our employment laws in this country favor employers, not employees. So even though you and I know things are the way they seem, right? And people tell you document, get a lawyer. Yes, do that. But know that it is an ongoing process. I'm not deterring anyone from suing, especially if you have been harmed. Woo, the bugs are out and it's 100 degrees. So if you have been harmed, I'm not telling you not to sue. I'm saying I want you to remember that HR is not your friend and that our employment laws in this country favor the employer, not the employee. And 3, I want you to know that harassment and bullying do not stop in high school. They absolutely happen in the workplace. I know you know that, but I want to confirm that for you again today, that bullying does happen in the workplace, especially those insecure folks who were insecure when they were 17, they're insecure at 27, 37, 47, 57, right? They have not aged and matured just because they have a title or a position or a salary or a degree in the workplace. So notice the patterns, right? So if someone is going to do quiet firing, right, they're usually patterns. They leave a pattern of the kind of behavior that they're doing. If they're checking behind you, if they're taking work away from you, if they're trying to put you on the spot, if they're calling you into meetings, they're trying to catch you in things, they're giving you menial work and giving someone else visibility. Some of those are just patterns of behavior. If they're totally ignoring you and just, have stopped communicating, right? Those things are patterns that you want to pay attention to. So I'm going to say it this way. Is it safe for you to practice soft leadership? Only you can tell. Only you know that. And you have to weigh the pros and cons. Is it a risk for you? Are you in a toxic workplace? And what's at risk? Are you at risk of losing your job? Are you at risk of losing your housing? Are you at risk of losing your car, right? I'm not going to advocate being homeless, but there are people who walk away because they just can't take it anymore and they don't have a plan B. They're like, I will figure it out and I'm just going to figure it out. So you have to evaluate whether it is too risky for you or whether it is that important to you. For me, I'm always going to speak up. I'm always going to advocate for myself. I am always thinking, right, what is next and what could happen and how I'm going to make things work. But you have to determine what's at risk for you. Are you going to be blackballed? Is your reputation at risk? Are your networks going to be taken away? Are you going to be cut off from additional funding, right? Like, are you getting tuition assistance or something like that? It's not just your salary. It's not just your benefits. All of those things, holistically, you have to look at the workplace. On the other hand, if it is so toxic that you are having physical symptoms, that you are unhealthy, that you can't sleep, that your family relationships are what is the word I want to use? Struggling or getting worse because of being in that work environment. Again, only you can determine whether that is a practice for you. So yes, I can talk about setting boundaries and people first, and taking your mental health days, and ensuring that you're doing work that you love and career fulfillment and all of those things. But at the end of the day, each of us, first of all, I love this weather. So yes, I'm sweating, but I would rather be sweating out here when it's 100 degrees and humid than freezing cold. So pay no attention to the sweat, just listen. So you have to determine what is best for you. It is absolutely subjective. Don't let anyone tell you it is or it isn't, because none of our situations are completely identical. You have to determine what's best for you. If you have another job already in the wings, take it. If you have a strong network, reach out to your network. If you have to leave right now because your health, mental, physical, emotional, financial health is suffering, then it may be time for you to really consider, what are you gaining by staying and what are you losing? Is your loss greater than your gain? So again, for me, for me, it is always worth it to advocate for myself, to prioritize people, to prioritize my well-being. And remember, in those instances, my work was undeniable, right? So you also have to make sure that you're getting done what needs to get done and don't leave them any room. Now, that doesn't mean people don't lie, because they do, and they did. But you also have to be able to prove your worth and your work. And I don't mean prove your worth as in you're validated from these people in this job. I mean, show them that you are doing what needs to be done, and they can get rid of you, but things aren't going to work the same. So they let me go, fine. I'm an employee, replace the employee, but things were not the same. So it's all subjective. You are the only one who knows if practicing soft leadership is safe for you. So this is Nicki Sanders with Nicki Sanders Leadership Consulting. You can find me here talking about leadership development, soft success, liberation, identity, all of those things for women of color. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you back here for the next video. Leave me a comment and let me know, is it worth it for you? Talk to you soon. Bye.